A wolf stood frozen in the middle of the mountain trail, his golden eyes catching the first light of dawn. The air was sharp and cold, mist curling around his legs. Behind him, the forest stretched endlessly and was dark. The hikers stopped where they were. No sound, no movement, just the steady beat of their hearts against the silence. The wolf didn't growl, didn't bare his teeth. He simply watched them, calm, deliberate, almost waiting. Then he took a single step forward, paws pressing into the frost. "Don't move," someone whispered. But the wolf didn't attack. He turned instead, trotting a few steps up the path before stopping again, glancing back over his shoulder. "What's he doing?" a woman asked softly. The wolf's ears flicked. A low sound rumbled from his chest. Not a threat, but a call. A plea. Then he turned once more and vanished into the trees. The hikers exchanged a look, and followed. They walked for nearly half a mile, the wolf always just ahead. Every few minutes he'd stop, waiting, glancing back, then move on. It wasn't random. He had a destination. "Tracks are fresh," one hiker muttered. "He's leading us somewhere." The trees grew thicker, the air sharper. Birds stirred in the branches above. Then faintly came a sound. High-pitched, broken, almost human. A cry. The hikers broke into a jog. The wolf darted ahead, vanishing behind a cluster of fallen pines. When they reached the clearing, they saw it. A small wolf pup was caught in an old steel snare near a pile of rocks. Its leg was twisted, the wire biting deep into the fur. Each time it struggled, the metal dug tighter. The father wolf circled from a distance, whining low. He didn't attack. He was asking for help. The hikers dropped their packs fast, boots sinking into the damp earth. "Get the multi-tool," said Mark, the group leader, voice tight but steady. The pup whimpered, its paw trembling in the rusted wire. Its chest rose too fast, eyes darting from the humans to the ridge where the father wolf stood. Silent, tense, every muscle ready to strike. Mark knelt, hands shaking. "Easy, little one. We'll get you free." He tugged at the wire. It didn't move. The metal bit deep into the pup's leg. Anna crouched beside him. "Careful," she whispered. "He's losing blood." Mark gritted his teeth. "If we don't cut it soon, he'll lose the leg." A low growl rolled down from the ridge. Deep and warning. The father wolf's tail stiffened, claws digging into the rock. Mark didn't look up. "He's watching," he muttered. "Then let him see," Anna said, pulling a blanket from her pack. She spread it over the pup's body, covering the metal and the blood. "Shh. You're safe now." The pup's breathing slowed. The growl faded. For a moment even the forest went still. Mark flicked open his knife and began sawing through the wire. The sound was harsh. Metal grinding against metal. Every twist made the pup flinch. "Almost there," he said quietly. One coil snapped. Then another. The last strand broke free. The pup cried out and collapsed. Mark caught it before it hit the ground. Blood seeped through the fur, dark, steady. Mark's hands shook as he held it. So small, so fragile, heartbeat racing under his palms. The pup's eyes rolled back for a second, then fluttered open again, glassy and lost. "Stay with me," he whispered, pressing his fingers lightly against its chest. It whimpered once, a thin human sound. Behind him, Anna's voice trembled. "He's going into shock." "Not yet," Mark said, his voice rough. "Not after all this." He tore off his glove and rubbed the pup's side, trying to keep the blood flowing, his breath coming fast and ragged. Every motion felt like borrowed time. Finally, the pup coughed weakly, drawing a thin breath. Mark exhaled, eyes burning. "There you go," he murmured. "You fight like your dad." Anna tore open the first aid kit. "Hold him." Mark steadied the pup while she poured antiseptic over the wound. The pup jerked, then whimpered. "I know," she whispered. "Almost done." She wrapped the leg with gauze, winding it firmly yet gently. Mud mixed with blood under her fingers. Mark tore off a strip of his sleeve and tied it over the bandage to keep it tight. When it was done, the pup's trembling eased. His breathing slowed. Mark exhaled. "You're gonna be okay, kid?" A shadow moved above them. The father wolf had stepped down from the ridge. Slow, silent, massive. Anna froze. Mark. I see him. The wolf's eyes locked on the pup, then flicked to them. He didn't snarl. He just watched. Mark backed away, palms open. He's yours now. The wolf reached the cub and sniffed the bandaged leg. The clearing went still. Even the wind seemed to stop moving. Mist hung low around them, pale and heavy, wrapping the scene in quiet. Mark's pulse slowed until he could hear only the faint sound of his own breathing, and the cub's weak whine. The wolf's fur glistened with frost. His sides rose and fell in a steady rhythm. For a heartbeat, it felt as if the entire forest was waiting, not in fear but in reverence. No one spoke. Even Anna lowered her head slightly as if afraid to break the moment. Then the wolf pressed his nose to the pup's head. The cub gave a faint cry and leaned against him. For a long heartbeat, no one moved. Then the wolf lifted his gaze. Not with anger but with something like understanding. And in that moment they all understood. This wasn't fear. It was trust. The wolf's gaze held steady. Not wild, not afraid, but aware. Mark felt his pulse slow. He knows, he whispered. The wolf blinked once, then looked down at the pup again. It licked the cub's ear, a soft sound breaking the silence. Anna took a careful step back. Let's give them space. They all did, moving slowly, deliberately, keeping their eyes low. The wolf watched until they reached the edge of the clearing. Then, without warning, he took a step forward. Mark froze. But the wolf didn't attack. He stopped halfway between them and the pup, lifted his head and gave a single low howl. It wasn't loud. It wasn't a threat. It was something else. Thank you. The sound rippled through the trees, deep and haunting. The pup answered with a faint whine. Then the wolf turned, nudging the cub toward the rocks. The two began climbing, slow but steady. When they reached the ridge, the father paused. He turned one last time, eyes catching the morning light, and bowed his head. A gesture that needed no words. Then he disappeared into the forest. The forest went silent. The wind stopped and somewhere far away, a pine cone fell with a loud thud. Mark's legs felt heavy. His hands were still trembling, the smell of iron and frost thick in the air. He knelt where the pup had been and pressed his palm into the cold earth. The soil was still warm. Anna crouched beside him, whispering, "He could have turned on us." Mark shook his head. He didn't. He waited until we were done. Around them, the trees creaked softly, like the forest itself was settling. A crow called once from the ridge. Distant, lonely, and then the world went still again. The hikers stood there, hearts pounding, too stunned to move. Anna broke the silence first. Did that really just happen? Mark nodded, still watching the ridge. Yeah, he said softly. And I think he meant it. The hike back felt heavier than before. They all knew what that meant. The wolf had seen them, had chosen not to strike. For a moment they weren't strangers. They were something else. Not prey, not threat. Just part of the same breath the forest took. He smiled, small and quiet. He trusted us, he murmured. Back at the ranger station, they left the story half told. No photos, no proof, no heroics. Just a line in the logbook. Wolf rescued near Ridge Trail, both alive. Weeks later, snow covered the ridge. The trail was quiet again. Mark returned with a new team, repairing the signs the storm had torn down. At dusk, he paused near the same clearing. The air sharp, sky bruised purple with sunset. From deep within the forest, a single howl rose. He stopped walking. Then another answered. Higher, smaller, close to the first. Mark smiled, lowering his tools. Guess they made it, he whispered. As he turned to leave, he noticed something near the tree line. Prints in the snow, two sets, side by side, fading toward the valley. He stood there until the cold bit through his gloves, listening to the last echo of that sound.